Hello and welcome to the channel. It's me, Chris Brooks. Right, I have something very interesting for you to listen to now. Now, for those people who have been following the channel for a little while, you will know of Len Lawrence. Now, Len Lawrence was the airline pilot who had a brain injury due to the gases which were in the cockpit. And obviously, Len whistle blew on this, and ever since then he has had so much hassle with Freemasonry, with the police, with the NHS. It's horrendous what he's been through, and you can catch the original podcast on my channel. I have removed some podcasts, by the way, and they're over on Rumble because I'm trying to sort things out on my channel, and they're all on Patreon as well. But I digress. What I have for you to listen to now is exclusive, and it is the police recording interview between Somerset and Avon Police and Len Lawrence. He talks about the Freemasons, he talks about his involvement in the Freemasons, he talks about all the people that have come together to create this horrendous journey that Len has been on. But here's just a little bit of an insight, a proper insight as to what he went through. So I hope you enjoy this clip, and yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Look after yourselves, take care, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.
This interview is being audibly and visibly recorded using a secure digital network. Police Staff Investigator 6960. I'm stationed at Bridgewater on the CID. Also present is my colleague.
I'm Police Constable 97 Alana Snow, also based here at Bridgewater.
Can you tell me your full name, please?
Leonard Lawrence.
Thank you. And your date of birth?
31st of August, 55.
Thank you. Also present is your solicitor. Thank you. And an appropriate adult. Can you confirm there's no one else present who hasn't been introduced on the tape?
No.
Thank you. The date is the 30th of March 2022, and the time by the clock is 16:49. The interview is being conducted at Bridgewater Police Station, and at the end of the interview, if your solicitor wants access to the interview recording, then I can give you a notice explaining how you can get that. You're not expected to act simply as an observer, and the purposes of your presence are to advise the person being interviewed, to observe whether the interview is being conducted properly and fairly, and to facilitate communication with Leonard.
I don't agree to that. I don't know. Miss is my support worker. No more than that. She's not to be involved in any legal.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Do you understand why you're here?
Yes.
Yeah. So okay, she's not being interviewed herself, but she's to make sure that if I'm asking you questions and she thinks I don't understand or may not understand what I'm saying, she will assist with any communication between us. Okay. So before we start the interview, I'll remind you that you're still under caution. That is, you do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention, when questioned, something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. That caution is in 3 parts, and I will explain that to you. Firstly, you don't have to say anything. You can answer some of my questions, none of my questions, all of my questions. It's entirely up to you. That is your choice.
I would prefer that you charge me. We put this in front of a judge and jury, and we deal with it there.
Okay. Let me finish explaining
Yes.
the caution a minute, please, Len. The middle part of the caution says, however, if you don't mention now something which you later rely on in court, then they can draw what is called an adverse inference from that. So they may say, well, when the policeman asked you those questions, why didn't you answer those questions back then when you're answering them now? Okay, do you understand?
Well, no, because I have a disability, and I don't think this is being done correctly. I really require a psychologist, not a support worker. But we continue.
All right. Okay. And lastly, that anything you say now is being recorded. This recording could be played to the court, or a summary of it, or a transcript of it could be played to the court should this end up in court proceedings.
That is my request. It goes to court.
Okay. So, do you have to answer any of my questions?
Sorry, do I have to
Do
answer?
you have to answer any of my questions?
It's just a couple of questions we ask after we've explained it, just to check that you do understand it for our.
Well, you just said I don't have to.
That's right. So I'm asking you to make sure that you understood that. Do you have to answer any of my questions?
Yeah, but the problem is I have short-term memory. So what we're doing now may go in a thing. So what you're saying to me, because of these absences.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. You were right, though. I said to you right at the beginning, you don't have to answer any of
Yes.
my questions. Yeah? So you do understand that. You don't have to answer any of my questions today. If you don't answer something now, but this goes to court and you give an account, what might the court think?
I don't know. I want it to go to court, but it can't be an ordinary court. It's got to be a court of protection court.
Okay. All right. I think you understand that if you don't say something now, but this goes to court,
I said
may
again,
be less
I want
likely
it.
to-
I want you to charge me. I want this in court, and I want it all put out there.
I understand that.
That is my request.
And what might happen to the recording that we're making? Could it be played in court?
Or they go missing, or they get wiped.
But what could happen? Could it be played to the court? For them? to
I don't
listen
know.
to? Well, that can happen.
Right.
You've previously been advised of your right to free legal advice and to have a legal advisor present. I must remind you that at any time you may consult and communicate privately with your legal advisor. Have you had sufficient time to consult with your legal advisor prior to this interview?
Not to give the solicitor the full background to this, just a very brief summary.
Okay. But are you happy that we can carry on with the interview at this stage?
Solicitor saying yes.
Okay. If during the interview you feel you want to speak to the solicitor privately, then just ask and we'll stop the interview and we'll leave and you can do that. Okay?
Yes.
So you were arrested earlier by my colleague. That was at 9:40 this morning on suspicion of harassment of Benjamin and Kathleen Oliver. The reasons for your arrest were that it is alleged that since September 2021 you have been submitting messages to the Contact Us pages at the workplace of Benjamin and Kathleen Oliver and also their church. These messages have caused them some distress. You've been arrested to protect them and so that we can gather evidence about the offence for which you've been arrested. During the interview I'll be asking you about the offence that you've been arrested for and inviting you to answer any of those questions, and there are some exhibits that I will show you and they are copies of the messages that have been sent to those people. I'll be asking most of the questions, but my colleague Alana may ask you some, and we may both make notes of anything that you say. We may summarise at various points during the interview.
Can
just
I
to make
see
sure.
the written statements of these Olivers, what they've said about me?
No, not at this stage.
Okay.
We may summarise at certain points
So-
just to make sure that we've understood what you've said. I'll be giving you some time to listen to the questions that I'm asking. Please listen carefully and let me finish the question so that you know exactly what it is that I'm asking. If you don't want to answer any questions, it is helpful if you say no comment, because it saves me sitting here waiting for you while I think you may be considering the answer you want to give. If you don't understand anything I say, then please just say and I will try and explain it to you. So, what can you tell me about any messages that are sent to Benjamin or Kathleen Oliver's workplaces or their church?
I can't tell you anything about them.
What I'd like to do is just go through a few topics I'll ask you some questions about things, and I'll start with your knowledge of Judge Simon Oliver. Have you met him?
The worshipful brother Simon Oliver.
Have you met him?
Yes.
Okay. When did you meet him?
On the 16th of April 2012, when he conducted a court of protection hearing at Reading County Court, when he weren't an authorised court of protection judge.
Do you engage with him socially?
I'm in Freemasonry, and there's been an interaction with my Masonic Lodge and issues with his Masonic Lodge and the Grand Lodge of Devon.
Would you consider he's a friend?
Most certainly not. He's a
And-
Freemason,
Okay.
so am I,
Right.
and there should be brotherly love.
Okay.
But because of the multiple resignations, because of his conduct,
There isn't brotherly love, no, from what you're saying, between you.
no, it wasn't I who resigned from the Masonic Lodge. The members resigned, senior London Grand rank, and I had to, so did our master, and I resigned as well, because they have resigned.
Right. Okay. So have you met him socially?
Only in his courtroom,
Right.
when he conducted the hearing for which he weren't authorised.
So do you have any issue with him personally?
I've only met him in the courtroom.
So I'll ask it again, because that didn't answer the question really. Do you have an issue with him personally?
In his professional cast, conducting court of protection hearings when he's not authorised, and conducted hearings when he alleges he's the president of the Queen's Bench Division when he certainly is not the president.
So any issue you have with him is over the improper use of his powers that you
He
didn't
acted
have.
outside
He
of his
didn't have,
jurisdiction.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay. Has he sexually assaulted you in any way?
No.
Do you have any evidence that he has sexually assaulted any person?
No.
Have you given him a bribe?
That is a very interesting question, because after the hearing with Simon Oliver, I was told by my solicitor, Paul Hicks, to pay the barrister Dominic Brazil, who had been my opponent, £10,000 and as about £3,000 or £4,000 to the law firm BP Collins. What my solicitor didn't tell me, that my appeal had been successful, and Oliver had been told by the High Court judge, Mrs. Justice Anna Pawley, to send my case to the Court of Appeal and an appeal be filed. Also, His Honour Judge Philip Weller had instructed that Oliver sends the files in the first instance to the Court of Protection. Judge Weller is a Court of Protection, and an appeal be filed. Oliver failed to comply with those instructions. So
did you pay a bribe to...
I got no money. I can't even buy dinner sometimes.
So the answer is no.
No.
Yeah. Have you any...
But there is a specific request from the solicitor, which will be evidenced, asking me to pay £10,000. My barrister got a phone call after the very next day, after the hearing with Oliver, Mr. Day, and they withdrew from my case, even though the High Court I'd won. The High Court judge had said it goes to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Protection judge said it goes to the Court of Protection, and an appeal filed. So that is the background.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any evidence to show that he does accept bribes?
If I had that evidence, I would produce it.
So the answer is no.
But
then,
what
is it?
what I do have, is that I was being asked to pay money. Now, why was my lawyers asking me to pay money when my case was successful, and why was it even put in front of Oliver when he weren't authorised to do these hearings?
I'm with you. So do you have any evidence that he is corrupt?
If I had that, I would produce it. However, I do have evidence to show that he acts dishonestly.
And you've described that already.
What I've got is when Oliver was told to send my case by Mrs. Justice Porfley to the Court of Appeal. What he did, he printed off 2 emails. And on one of those emails, using red ink, and I believe the staff, your Chief Constable has a copy of this, so do your professional standards. What Oliver wrote on those emails in red ink below, the instructions to Master Maria Bancroft-Rimmer in the Court of Appeal that my appeal be refused and the appeal discharged. The Court of Appeal had already told Oliver before that email in October they did not have jurisdiction. It had to go to a Court of Protection judge, and Master Maria Bancroft-Rimmer also didn't have jurisdiction. It has to go to a Court of Protection judge. Lord Justice Rupert Jackson had sent me an email, and he had notified Mr. Justice Jackson in the Court of Protection what had happened. What we also now know, that when this occurred, Thames Valley Police sent an email to Devon and Cornwall Police, and offences of fraud, of perjury and other more serious offences had been identified. It was assigned to a WPC Emma Pack to come out and see me. Emma Pack's maiden now married name is Emma Story Barrett. Emma Pack is recorded on the police log, which I now have a copy of. She came out, she spoke to me at length, and she sent an email back to Thames Valley Police. Following the adventure with the Right Honourable Sir Geoffrey Cox and others, Devon and Cornwall Police have finally admitted that the entry on the police log is false. The officer never came to my house. The matter had been reviewed at that time by Claire Arms, then a detective superintendent with Devon and Cornwall, and she had a secondary role as the Force Intelligence Officer. Accompanying this email to Devon and Cornwall, it says the disclosure of this information is strictly prohibited. This is all about a large number of airline pilots who have been heavily exposed to organophosphate. Mr. Lawrence is one of those victims, and he suffered brain damage. Now, what Superintendent Claire Arms never told me, that my professional complaint, my complaint against this Emma Pack, I said when story back, never came out. Arms never told me that my complaint had been upheld, and it had been a false entry. We can now evidence that. But what Arms did was sent me a confidential police file on a Mr. Justice, on a Mr. Miles, and an Eastern European gang, totally unrelated to my thing. Also, details were sent to me about Leon Britton, the Home Secretary. That can be evidenced.
Mm-hmm. Is this?
It's very relevant. It's very relevant.
No, I wasn't going to say, is it?
Yeah, right. So that false entry, those criminal offences were identified with Oliver, and we now evidence that the entry is false. And the officers, the IPC, grabbed the files and they posted them to me, and I've got the whole paper trail. So following that hearing with Oliver, yes, criminal offences were identified.
What were those offences?
Fraud, perjury and other more serious offences. There was a review. I've been in contact with Detective Chief Superintendent, what was his name? Detective Chief Superintendent, he was in the Met. He was in charge of economic crime. He later left the Met and he became an Assistant Chief Constable with Essex. But anyway, I spoke to him. Then what happened, a man called Stephen Prophet, who was the then head of Action Fraud, two statements were taken from me, detailed. All those tapes have gone missing, all those files have now gone missing, and offences for fraud, perjury were identified. What I can evidence, that the Serious and Organised Crime Unit of Devon and Cornwall Police came to my house to interview me. A DI, I think his name, and one other officers Now the force had already had these quarter protection certificates around about 2009, but they were never disclosed. And the officer, the notes show that he said there was a case to answer about these offences. But what had happened, Devon and Cornwall got contacted by Superintendent Gavin Tyrrell from Thames Valley Police and told not to take the statement from me. Now, those police files were sent to me, and what had happened, I thought Tyrrell, who later became the superintendent in charge of the economic crime, the City of London Police, I thought Tyrrell was being an absolute pig. He weren't. We now know he was being bullied. Tyrrell was being bullied by Detective Superintendent Gillian Veronica Watton. And what the police files show, that he was getting instructions not to investigate from his superintendent. She was hiding in the shadows. Special procedures have been put into place by Timothy DeMeyer, Chief Superintendent, the head of Thames Valley Police Professional Standards, that special procedures be put into place to deal with me. What these officers had denied to me, that the internal police review by Detective Inspector Nicholas Watts show that I'd been sectioned under Part 7 of the Mental Health Act 1983 by Solicitor Graham Stephen Fraser, BP Collins solicitors, my wife's lawyers. The police had known this. I was a patient subject to the Court of Protection, and none of them disclosed it.
So that deals quite comprehensively with Judge Simon Oliver. I'll turn now to his son, that's Benjamin Oliver. How do you know Benjamin?
I don't know Benjamin Moffat. All I know is the name.
So, and it seems a superfluous question, but have you met him?
No.
You have no relationship with him, either social or professional?
No.
Have you engaged with the services of anyone at Field Seymour Parks Solicitors? That's where Benjamin works.
No. But I know other victims have encountered problems with that solicitors, and I believe there was one hearing took place where that solicitors were in present with Simon Oliver as the judge, and I think it was Ben Oliver was the solicitor and never disclosed his association with his father. That is another female victim like me.
But
That's all I know. That's all I know.
Okay. So he's never done any work for you?
No.
You've never given him a bribe?
No.
Do you have any evidence that he gives bribes to anyone?
I've never had any dealings
No.
with Benjamin Oliver.
Do you have any evidence that he encourages others to give bribes?
I don't know. I've never had any dealings with him.
Do you have any evidence that he engages in criminal activity of any kind?
I have no evidence. I've never dealt with Oliver.
Do you have any evidence that he is corrupt in any way?
I have never dealt with him.
Okay. Turning now to your knowledge of Kathleen Oliver, that is Benjamin's wife, so Judge Oliver's daughter-in-law. How do you know her?
I don't know her.
Have you met her?
No.
Do you have any sort of relationship with her?
No.
Have you been a patient at her practice, which
No.
is Bramley Grange Medical Practice?
No.
Have you any evidence that Kathleen Oliver falsifies medical records?
I've never had any dealings with Kathleen Oliver.
No. Do you have any evidence that she falsifies medical records?
I've never had any, so I wouldn't have it. No. I haven't dealt with her.
Do you have any evidence that she engages in criminal activity of any kind?
I don't know. The only evidence at the moment is making these false allegations against me.
So, that deals with that. Anything? No. When we came to your property this morning, after you were arrested, we
Yes.
took a couple of items away. So, firstly, there was an unbranded PC tower, and that was exhibit 8048BM2. That was from upstairs. My colleague,
Yeah.
he went up with him when
Yeah.
they took that away. So, is that your computer?
Yes.
Where did you buy it?
It was given to me.
By whom?
Yeah.
A man who served in the RAF, who was repeatedly raped in a children's home when he was a young thing.
Okay. Could you name him for me, please?
No.
When did he give it to you?
God. 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Does anyone else have access to that computer?
Not that I'm aware.
Is it password protected?
Yes.
Will you tell me the password?
No.
Have you given that password to anyone else?
Yes.
Who is that?
I can't remember.
Okay, well, who would you have given it to?
People who stayed at my house used the computer.
Do you know roughly how long ago that potentially would have been?
No one's been there via that computer this year, and possibly some last year.
Okay.
I think I said to you earlier on, we're looking at messages from September
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
Has anyone had access to that computer
No.
since then?
I don't believe so, no.
The computer needs to be examined.
Yes.
If it's password protected, that may delay the examination and may lead to damage to the computer whilst we try to examine it. So I would ask you again.
No,
would
I'm
you
not.
reconsider?
No, I've had too much of this persistent police bullying. Not from you, but I've had enough of it. I've had enough of Oliver. Bullying, allegations. I have to write a diary where I'm going just so I can't. I'm accused of this. I'm accused of that.
Okay, well, it will be sent away for examination. It would be much quicker if we had the password.
But what you want to be looking at, an email was sent to me last June by the Government Legal Department, Louisa Lloyd-Jones. That email sent alarm bells that there was a tracking device attached inside it to see who I was communicating with.
So who was that?
Inside the email, or
Yeah, on the email it had a
Like a virus.
well, I don't know what it was, but someone picked it up. The coding, the metadata, whatever, had tracking in it.
Okay. What was her name again? Sorry.
Louisa Barris, she's the one who's been involved in making allegations
Louisa.
on Lloyd-Jones. Lloyd-Jones.
Louisa Lloyd-Jones. So that was last June.
That was last June when she accused me of contacting Simon Oliver's family. She alleged the instructions came from Susan McGibbon, the permanent secretary at the Government Legal Department, and she falsely accused me of that. It had a coding in it, a virus, so I contacted Thames Valley, but I was going to send it to them, but their postman or whatever rejected the email.
Right. Yeah.
Because of I didn't want to be done for malicious. I contacted the National Crime Agency. I advised them these allegations are continuing. There has been a police report about this bullying of me, which has come from a police force directly to the Director General of the National Crime Agency, Lynn Owens. So she is aware. I think she's got a file on other cases like mine. I spoke to the National Crime Agency. I got permission to send that email to them. Then I subsequently got an email, I got communicated from the Crown Prosecution Service, may have been Reading, that they have no record of any police complaints relating to me making these allegations. There is also another email I've become aware of now, which have been disclosed to me, that having reviewed my case, following me get certified and what's happened to me, the CPS had made a specific instructions to the false solicitor, Guy Lemon, so I'm not pointing at you, but
No.
Guy Lemon, the false solicitor, that officers be out and see me. And they never complied with those instructions.
If you want me to look at that email and to examine your device,
No,
to see if it's been
I can do it.
dealt with in
No,
any
it's
way,
been dealt with,
been-
not by other people. They've
So, Can you just say there was a cable going out
Yeah.
and down into
Yeah.
the router?
Yeah.
Who installed that cable?
I did.
You did. And you plugged it in?
I
either
plug it
end,
in
sorry.
because I can't do Wi-Fi.
Okay. Thank you for that. The other item that was you handed it over to us was an iPhone in
Yeah.
a red case. That's exhibit 8048 BM3. Is that your phone?
That is my phone.
Where did you buy that?
I don't know. But it's on Tesco's. Tesco's. That was it. Came from Tesco's.
Can you remember when you bought it?
It'd be 3 years in December.
This December or just the December?
It'd be
just gone?
3 years. It'd be 2 years now. 3 years come the end of December.
Does anyone else have access to that phone?
Don't believe so.
Is it password or PIN protected?
Yes.
Can you tell me the password or
No.
PIN, please? Have you given that password or PIN to anyone else?
No. I don't believe so.
Again, my colleague, the chap with the beard who attended
Yeah.
this morning, he could have examined that phone if we
Yeah.
had your PIN number.
Yeah.
By not having it, that will delay
Yeah,
the
that's fine.
examination and may cause damage to the phone. So
Then I seek damages against you. Yeah.
that's right. If you don't want to give it, you don't have to.
No, I've just had enough of this. It's been going on for years and years, all the time.
You okay there?
Say something. Can I say something?
Yeah, of course you can.
Will Mr. Lawrence, will he not get his phone back? Because that is the only
That's
the
my-
only
that's my
phone
main-
that I
Right,
had
okay, no, I'm going to have to send that
contact
off now for
Right.
examination.
him
Okay.
on. He's got
So I've got no emergency phone call
he's
from
got
my
no
house.
emergency contact.
Not got a landline?
It doesn't always. We lose power, then then the alarms go off. So the only communication I've got is that phone to the helpline.
Well, if we had been able to examine it today, we would have been able to take it back with him today, but we can't. It's got to be sent away,
Okay.
so you've got to have a phone being handed back. Can't give it back to him until it's checked.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
So we dealt with the phone. I'd like to deal now with any digital media issues. So do you use the internet?
Yes.
How do you access the internet?
I just turn the computer on.
Through the router that
Yeah.
your premises. Do you know who provides that internet?
BT.
Do you use Wi-Fi at your home at all? I know you said earlier there's a
Don't think I
problem
don't.
with it.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't get a signal.
What about your phone? Does your phone connect up by
Not
Wi-Fi?
always. It
or-
break.
But it can do.
It can
so
do. Yeah.
It is a
yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
We've taken the computer tower and your phone. Do you use anything else to access the
No.
internet? Is access to the router controlled by a password?
Don't think so. No. I don't know. I don't know.
Do you know if anyone else has access to
I don't
the
know.
router?
I don't know.
They usually do have a password, and they're usually quite complex. Would you give that to
I
anybody?
haven't. No, I don't think unless someone's been at my house, but
Yeah.
I can't be.
Yeah, sometimes they're stuck on the back of the
Right.
router, but you haven't.
My life is simple. Everything's simplified, right?
Yeah.
If I had these IT skills, then there'd be a lot more on the net, I can assure you.
Yeah, okay.
I rely on other people to help me.
Can you tell me your email address, please?
.co.uk. And you have another one called. But your staff officer, your chief constable, and your superintendent, professional standards, and the inspector who's been dealing with me because of these allegations, they've got my email addresses.
Okay, so we've got .co.uk.
Yeah, that's it.
Is
Yeah.
that .com or?
I don't know.
Oh.
But your professional status have the email.
Do you have any other email addresses?
No.
Are those email accounts password protected?
Yeah.
Does anyone else have access to them?
No, I don't believe so.
Have you ever given other people access to that email?
Possibly, but I can't remember.
When would that likely have
I just don't know.
been?
Anything on the digital stuff?
No, I think
So what I'd like to do now is turn to the messages that have been sent,
Mm.
and there are a few,
Right.
and it could be a little bit repetitive, I'm afraid, but I just want to go
Yeah.
through and make sure. So I'll deal firstly with exhibit VLBGMP01.
Yeah.
VLBGBBG
Yeah, BG
MP
MP
01.
01.
And this is an email or a message, sorry, that was sent to Kathleen Oliver's workplace on the 21st of September 2021.
Yeah.
Did you send that contact to?
I have told you I've sent absolutely no emails to Kathleen Oliver, Ben Oliver, the church, their places of work.
Okay.
And I keep getting these allegations made at me. I said I referred it to Thames Valley.
Yes.
I phoned them. I told them what was going on, and I also referred directly to the Director General's office of the National Crime Agency, and no action has been taken. Now I'm still getting allegations. Who's made these allegations to you? I know it's come from.
I told you, Ben.
No, but it would have come via Thames Valley.
Yes,
Right. Do we know who in Thames Valley?
I do. Yes,
Rank.
Detective Constable.
A detective company. Can I have that name?
I can't remember it off the top of my head. I've had an email from them sending these details down to you.
Well, you are aware of the close Masonic associations with Simon Oliver, his Masonic lodge in
It
Thames
is a
Valley.
female officer.
Yes, and
I don't think-
there's female Freemasons.
Okay, right, I didn't know. Okay, anyway. what
Can
do
I
need
can
to
I
do-
have her name?
I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Can
I
we
wouldn't
find
want
out?
to-
And
I
if she
can let you know. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So, going back to this, I've asked you, did you send that message?
No.
The message contains details about her father-in-law, Judge Simon Oliver, who is, according to this message, a paedophile and a Freemason.
He's certainly a Freemason.
He's really involved in child abductions and taking bribes.
He certainly is taking children. That is correct.
Child abductions, or
I don't know, but he's certainly taking putting children into care.
says that he forges documents.
I wouldn't know that.
Mhm.
But he is conducting court of protection hearings knowingly on very vulnerable people when he's not authorised. And isn't it interesting when we get people like one particular lady, when they come up against Oliver, Maureen Obi, a barrister, what happened? She suddenly finds herself under investigation by a professional body and suddenly almost lost her career because I understand Oliver had been in contact with the Bar Standards Board. So this man's got a lot of history.
The message ends, many people's children have been abducted, cover abused, tortured and even killed. This message is to inform Kathleen Oliver that the same will happen to her children as well.
Do you honestly
Did
think
you
I'd
say
be... No, absolutely not. That's a blatant lie from Kathleen Oliver.
No.
It is. I haven't done it.
That's what's on the message.
Yeah, well, I
That's
have...
what I'm putting
That's not...
down, you haven't
If
done
you look how I speak, how I pronounce words, construct sentences, that will soon show whether I did that or not. And so will any IP address.
it. So you wouldn't have sent that message?
Don't be silly. I'm
Definitely
not...
not.
No.
No, that's okay.
Officer, I appreciate you've got a series of messages there.
Yes.
You probably wanted to go through with Leonard, but given what he's saying, which is he hasn't sent any of those messages, and his response is going to be the same to
Same.
each one.
Everyone will be
I won't
responded
go
to.
into a
maybe
lot
yeah.
of detail on any of it. There's a dozen at the most. Okay. So exhibit HKBGMP01. HKBGMP01. This is another message to, on this occasion, to the church where the Olivers
What church is this?
go. It's the Hope
Hope Church.
Church.
And whereabouts is that?
I don't know. And again, it's a message alleging that Judge Oliver is a Freemason paedophile and so on. Did you send that message?
No. And when that allegation was made again, the government legal department would not release me the names alleging that I was contacting, but your PC from Avon and Son very kindly named everybody, and that's the first time I've seen that name. Now, my response would be to challenge them, but I was aware of the consequences if I contacted these people. Whether it was entrapment, I don't know, but I contacted your Chief Constable here's office, email exchange with the staff and your professional standards to make it very clear I'm not doing this, and the previous allegations been made against me.
VLBGMP02. So VL
BL
BGMP
BGMP
02.
02.
And this is an email to the Kathleen Oliver's workplace. I seem to be missing a piece of paper. That's 'cause it's gone to there. Yeah. That again makes allegations about Judge Oliver being engaged in criminal activity and so on, and asking that Kathleen Oliver passes that message on. Did you send that message?
No.
Exhibit 786 LN1. This was sent to Ben Oliver's workplace.
Right.
It makes allegations that Judge Oliver is engaged in criminal activity. Did you send that message?
No.
Exhibit VL BGMP 03. That's a message to Kathleen Oliver's workplace, and it makes allegations that Judge Oliver takes bribes and that Ben and Kathleen ask their clients to give bribes. Did you send that message?
No.
Exhibit LN FSP 01.
01.
That's to Ben Oliver's workplace, and it alleges that Ben Oliver asks his clients to give bribes. Did you send that message?
No.
GB HC01.
Yeah.
That's a message to the Oliver's Church,
Yeah.
making allegations that Judge Oliver is engaged in criminal activities and cheats on his wife. Did you send that message?
No.
Exhibit VLBGMP 04. That was a message to Kathleen Oliver's workplace, and it makes allegations that Judge Oliver engaged in criminal activity. Did you send that message?
No. I've sent no
Okay.
emails to any of these.
I just need to go through each one. Exhibit VLBGMP 05.
Yeah.
That was to Kathleen Oliver's workplace. And that details cases heard and dealt with by Judge Oliver. Did you send that message?
No.
VLBGMP 06.
06.
That is to Kathleen Oliver's workplace.
Yeah.
Simply requests that a link to judgesbehavingbadly.com
Yeah.
is forwarded. Did you send that message?
No.
786 LV1. This is a message to Kathleen Oliver's workplace, and it makes allegations that Judge Oliver and her husband Benjamin engage in criminal activities. Also alleges that Kathleen falsifies medical records and is engaged in criminal acts. It finishes saying she should go and sterilise herself. Did you send that message?
No.
VLBGMP 07. Another message to Kathleen Oliver's workplace, making allegations that Judge Oliver engages in criminal and racist activity, that her husband Benjamin takes bribes, forges documents, and Kathleen falsifies medical records. Did you send that message?
No.
VLBGMP 08. A message to Kathleen Oliver's workplace, making allegations that Judge Oliver is engaged in criminal activity, and it finishes with, say hello to from us, it will be nice to meet her one day. Did you send that message?
No.
Do you know who Eleanor would be?
I haven't got a clue.
GBHC02. This is a message to the Oliver's Church. It makes allegations that Judge Oliver is engaged in criminal acts, and it makes mention of anthrax at some point during that email. It refers to the Oliver's daughter Eleanor being put at risk, and alleges that the whole family is engaged in false paperwork and bribery. Did you send that message?
No.
Have you ever mentioned anthrax in any sort of message?
No. I've never contacted these people.
No.
Never.
VLBGMP09.
09.
This is a message to Kathleen's workplace.
Yeah.
Makes allegations of criminal activity by Judge Oliver, raises concerns about Eleanor's safety, and that the family is engaged in false paperwork and bribery. Did you send that message?
No.
There are two messages which have not yet been exhibited, because statements have not been taken from the people who received them.
But the two Oliver, the church, Kathleen Oliver, Ben Oliver, FS, whatever law they were, have all made these allegations against me. They sworn statements to that effect.
I have statements from some of the people involved in this, yes. Yeah.
Can you tell me who's made these statements against me?
Not offhand, no, I can't.
Well, I'm going to
Ben Oliver
obviously
and
I'm going to
Kathleen
challenge.
Oliver.
I'm going to challenge the church. I'm going to challenge the two, because I certainly have not done this. And like I say, I've absolutely had enough of these sarcastic comments on the police computer about me, the derogatory statements about my injuries, and these allegations coming from this family and from Oliver.
So there is a submission to Kathleen's workplace. This was on the 18th of March 2022.
That's this year, isn't it?
Yes.
Right.
Makes allegations that Kathleen's children are at risk. She engages in the falsification of medical records and assists in the improper seizure of patients' assets. Did you send that message?
No.
Contained within that were some photographs. Do you recognise those photographs?
That is the worshipful brother Simon Oliver in his Masonic lodge, in his Masonic robes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Did you send those photographs to anyone? Have you sent those?
I didn't have access to those until I've seen them on the internet.
Yeah. And lastly, again, an email that isn't exhibited because I haven't had a chance to get the statement yet. This is to the Oliver's Church again, and it makes allegations that Kathleen is engaged in the falsification of medical records and assists in the improper seizure of patients' assets. Did you send that message?
No, but if I had evidence, I would make sure everybody knew about it, but I've never contacted her.
No. Okay, thanks for that.
I'm not going to be that stupid to...
On the 23rd of January 2022, PC, one of my uniform colleagues, sent you a words of advice
Yes.
letter advising you stop sending
Yes.
any messages. Did you receive that letter? And there's a copy of it.
I
there.
received that letter, then I immediately contacted your Chief Constable, Sarah Crew. I've had an email back from her staff officer, who's an inspector, and I've had communication with the superintendent, nice lady, female, professional standards, and a detective inspector. And I think I briefly explained what's going on. I've never made those allegations, I've never done them, but my colleagues have said, bring this to court now, we've had enough of it. This needs to come into court, and these people who are making these allegations against me can come to court and put this in front of a jury. But like I say, I've already referred it to Thames Valley because of the problems I was having, being accused. And when I got that tracking device sent by Govan, and it went straight to Lynn Owens, and I know at the National Crime Agency, the CPS Reading had contacted me. They had no record, or did other police stations, about me allegedly making these. And what else happened? I know a report has been sent about Oliver's activities to Lynn Owens when she was in position, about the number of people like me who have encountered Oliver, lost our homes, our and children. And there's a lot of people who don't like him, particularly in Freemasonry at the more senior levels.
But do you
But
agree?
no, I haven't.
You received that letter.
I received that letter.
And that letter gives you words of advice that you should not attempt to.
But the allegations,
to contact with Kathleen.
I've never contacted them, and the allegations within them are false.
Okay.
And more importantly, they are malicious. I don't blame your officers; they're just going on instructions.
Yeah.
But
during the interview, you've indicated you have some concerns about Judge Oliver.
I have serious concerns. Well, you know, I can evidence. Your Chief Constable's got the email where he's been sending instructions to the Court of Appeal to judges who don't hold authorisations, making sure that appeals are sent to her and the appeals are refused. These are very vulnerable people, called to protection, people like me who had brain injuries, very vulnerable, and that little reptile has been sending instructions to make for their appeal files. Their barristers are being warned off, like mine was, and I was told to pay £10,000 to my wife's lawyers by my own solicitors, Simpson Miller, when I'd won my appeal. Why wasn't I told my appeal had been won? And if these barristers dare to speak out, they find themselves under a fitness to practice investigation, like Barrister Maureen Obi. And like I say, these barristers, he's been out there giving it. You go in his court, no one's allowed in there. He intimidates you, he belittles you, and he bullies you. Now, when people associated with his Masonic Lodge come down to Devon to talk to me about him, they've got their own problem. There's a little network there, and Thames Valley and more senior levels are involved.
Whilst you have some legitimate concerns about Judge Oliver, you would agree, would you, that it wouldn't be necessary to involve his family in any of that?
I have no need. My argument is not with Oliver's family. My argument is with him, his misconduct.
So you haven't done anything to cause them any embarrassment or harassment?
I
in
will
any
be
way?
actually going public now. I'm going to talk to everybody about what's been done to me. And I'm going to name the Oliver family, their addresses, everyone, because I am fed up with it. Since 2004, all I've had is bullying, bullying, bullying.
Well, you won't know their addresses because you don't know them, do you?
Well, you just named them. You've named
Yeah,
FSD
I've
Law,
named them.
Ben Oliver.
Yeah.
You've named Kathleen Oliver, Bramley or whatever it
I
was.
didn't say FSP law.
Yeah, well, that is where they work.
Okay, how do you know that?
Because if you read judges behaving badly, it's on there.
Okay.
And the
Under that,
mothers who have encountered Simon Oliver, one in particular, her case regarding her children were heard before Oliver, and Oliver's son, I understand, was the person who prosecuted her, not disclosing that he was Oliver's son, the judge you hear in the case. Again, she's lost her kids.
But
And her got, surprise, surprise, when that hearing with Oliver took place in the High Court in London, in his fingers apart thing, Oliver had asked her where she was living. She gave the address. By the time she came home, her house had been raided by Thames Valley Police and her stuff taken away. There's too many victims like me coming together. That website's been fantastic. It's brought us together. We were never meant to know each other's cases. And of course we now know, and there's a common pattern, him. And he's been conducting these hearings when he weren't authorised.
okay. We've been going nearly an hour now,
Yeah.
Len. I do have a few more questions.
Hmm.
Are you happy to
Yeah.
carry on? You don't need a break or
No.
anything?
No.
Amanda, you happy that we can? Okay. So, are you familiar with the blog Judges
Yes.
Behaving Badly?
Yes.
How do you know about it?
Because I've posted on it.
Do you know who created it?
No.
Did you create it?
I haven't got the IT skills.
Do you comment on it? I think you
Oh,
said
I
you
have
did.
done loads of comments on it.
What is the purpose of the blog?
Because what the purpose, my understanding is that, is to bring victims of abuse, particularly called a protection patients like me, mothers who have lost their children, been subjected to bullying, lost their homes, had to leave the UK because the police had failed to act, notably Thames Valley. When Tom Windsor went in there, 2019, just in that 1 year, 35,000 crimes were not recorded. Rapes, sexual assaults, domestic violence, vulnerable adult cases, vulnerable children cases were all not recorded by that force. And that is why you've got a lot of people like me are in this situation by what's going on. Having people certified, the local lawyers, sectioning people, taking their homes, people like Oliver, other judges conducting these hearings when they're not authorised. We're ending up assets stripped on the streets and they're just lining their pocket at £10,000 an hour.
So
And the police did nothing. Not you, but
is the purpose of the blog then to raise those concerns?
I did not. That's my understanding of
Yeah.
the blog. I did not. I wish I only had the skills to do it.
Mhm. Why do you comment on it?
Because the police have failed to do anything. They've failed to protect these. And all you see on Thames Valley Police internal files are derogatory statements about me and other victims.
What device do you use to post on Judges Behaving
My
Badly?
internet.
Your computer or your phone?
Phone? No, computer.
Do you know who controls the blog?
No.
Do you know if it's more than one person?
I don't know. But you're going to find another blog's coming out very shortly. Not that one, but this is being done by veterans, right? Real hardened veterans. And there's no way they're going to get it down.
No.
And I'm apparently the lead veteran to talk about what's happened to me. It won't be in this country, but you won't get that down. Sorry, not going at you.
No. How
No.
often do you check the blog?
I haven't checked that blog, I don't think, this year.
When was the last time, roughly?
Sometime last year. I can't remember. 'Cause I had homeless to start do a thing, and I The blog was very good. There were stupid comments being put onto it about him being a paedophile and all that. Unless you can evidence it, then there's no point, because it then just gets discredited. But what I've put on there, everything on there, I can evidence.
And how does commenting work? Do you know?
I ain't got a clue. You just put
you put something on it.
Yeah.
So do you know if it has to be approved before it appears?
I don't know.
When you...
I just submit and it comes up.
It comes up straight away?
Yeah, straight away.
Do you know Javid Sheikh?
I know of Javid Sheikh.
Okay. How do you know him?
Because Simon Oliver, I think it was last year, the year before, took a civil action in the High Court against Javid Sheikh.
Sorry, that's my phone buzzing in my pocket.
Right,
Annoying.
against Javid Sheikh. The case was heard by Mr. Justice Julian Knowles, and Oliver was represented by the Treasury solicitors on instructions from the Ministry of Justice, and Ben Silverstone was the barrister who represented Oliver. Oliver, I now know, had made multiple allegations against me in that statement, but the Treasury solicitors on Matrix Chambers never told me of these allegations. I found out subsequently. And others, he's made these allegations. And I've got the allegations now he's made, and I will now challenge him. Public, hang on, what happened? The hearing ended, and within hours, the judgment, Mr. Justice Julian Knowles, ended up on Matrix Chambers' website. 12 days before Mr. Justice Knowles had handed that judgment down in the High Court, it was already on Matrix Chambers. But we now know that Knowles had been a founding member of Matrix Chambers. Ben Silverstone had worked with Knowles in the same specialist media department. They never disclosed this very cosy relationship, and they got a judgment. And now I've had all those papers, that evidence about me, what's been made, has been come into my possession. I believe Oliver might know that because Thames Valley know. And that is how I know of these proceedings. Now, what started to happen, the allegations then start from the Treasury solicitor. One of my colleagues told Lloyd Jones and McGibbon, the permanent secretary, to bring it on, charge me with these allegations, and put it before a jury. Just don't keep making these allegations. When it became known to McGibbon, the permanent secretary, that the Attorney General had been involved with me and others, she backed right off. So did Lloyd Jones, and now, not you, but the police have now been pulled in to start this bullying.
Okay. Do you communicate at all with
No.
Sheikh?
No.
Do you know if he controls the blog?
I don't know.
During a radio interview, you've referred to Javid Sheikh by name. Why did you do that?
Because Javid Sheikh was the case with Matrix. In these, he was the one who got accused. Then Oliver lumped me and other victims of his abuse, falsely accusing us. I was accused of getting down. Get down to the nitty gritty or anything. I'm going to Oliver's house, where I'm going to cause an unrest and bring it all out into the open. I never did that, but I do now believe I know the name. It was a man called Dan Wilding. Oliver had taken his daughter, put her into a care home where the daughter alleged she'd been abused. Thames Valley Police, there'd been a big manhunt because the daughter had run away from the care homes, and there was a search, and Oliver has accused me of making these posts. It wasn't. I think it was the mother, and he's actually said that in thing. And now, but I've been accused of making these blogs.
During the radio interview, you mentioned that Sheikh controls the blog. Is that true?
I can't recall that. Then if you've led these radio interviews, you will be knowing about all these mothers who are being abused, their kids are all been taken, and all the false allegations being made against myself and others.
Have you ever met Shake.
No.
Do you know a Penelope Sinclair?
I know of Penelope Sinclair. She's had her, she lost her home, her assets.
So how do you know that?
Because I've been in contact with her. Another one of Oliver's victims.
How do you communicate with her?
I've got a feeling I haven't communicated with her for a long time, but she set up a blog. Or she may have set up, she's accused of setting up a blog. But yeah, she's had to leave the country. I think she's in. She was left with no money. She had no money to live early. I think late last year. She had a house worth 700,000. She's lost it.
Have you ever met her?
No.
But I think you said it was some time ago that you spoke to her. How often previous to that did you speak to her?
No more than 3 or 4 times, maybe. Her dad was in the Royal Navy. Yet she'd been left with no money, homeless.
Did she control that blog? Judges behaving badly? Do you?
I don't know.
And lastly, why have you been communicating or commenting on a blog specifically designed to cause Judge Oliver harassment, alarm and distress?
Because not you, but he's been allowed to continue abusing these mothers, these fathers, people like me, asset stripping us, allowing doing these call to protection, and I'm going to be, once I'm out of here, I'm going to bring as much of this into the open now. I always copy. I don't need to hide. If you check my emails, I copy Mr. Justice Hayden, the Vice President of the Court of Protection, or I BCC him.
So what we will be doing is
Yeah,
going through your computer and phone and seeing if there's any evidence.
Yeah.
If there is evidence that you have been sending any of these messages, then we may need to ask you some more questions about
And if
that.
there's no evidence,
If there is no evidence, you will receive my sincere apologies. Because
well, I know you won't find any of it because I haven't. I'm not going at you.
No.
But
you appreciate I
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
investigate
yeah, I know
what's been
that.
sent to me. I hope I've been as fair as I can
Yeah,
be.
you've been
I
fine.
appreciate
Yeah.
it's not nice we turn up on your doorstep and arrest you, but we
But
need
I've
to
had it.
ask
I've
you
had
these
police
questions.
assaults. If you read Professor Turnbull's reports, not another police assault. Air Vice Marshal O'Connor, consultant psychiatrist, RAF, multiple police assaults, allegations. I mean, I'm lucky. I've had access to these people, right? And I've got access to people who I can't tell you. But we've been into Oliver. We've dug deep. We've got the email. Someone in this Court of Appeal. I think your staff officer and your chief super's got this now, where he's been writing instructions to make sure Court of Appeal cases filed. But what not the superintendent, but I got an email from her inspector. He wants a copy of the letter from Richard Ainley QC, the High Court judge, where Brazil made a full admission to the High Court judge what he'd done to me, how he'd had me sectioned, and what he'd done. Yeah, Oliver had that letter. I can evidence Oliver had that letter, but it never reached a Court of Protection or the Court of Appeal. This is what we're dealing with.
So, basically, to summarise the interview, and I think it's very simple to summarise it. You completely deny sending any messages to Ben or Kathleen Oliver's workplaces or to their church.
No,
Never had anything
it
to
would
do with
it leave me too open to attack. I'd rather get up, go back to that BTS veterans camp last year where not you, but your force and Thames raided it, caused all these problems. Then we're going to sit down and we're going to give one hell of an interview. But not going at you.
No.
You get your instructions from up there.
Anything from you?
Just one question, just one brief.
Yeah.
How many? Just to clarify, how many posts have you made on this judge's
Oh, I
behaviour
don't
badly in
There
relation
was
to
multiple.
this Simon
Oliver.
Oliver?
Oh, there's been a lot. One of the things which was put up was Operation Tebus, where criminal gangs infiltrated the Met. That was sent to me. The whole. When I got it, I contacted the Met, spoke to one of the governor, I think it was the Dick's private office, would have been sent, because I'm getting file papers sent to me, and I thought, well, this is a bit, because it named all the criminal gang, all the officers, anything like that, I returned to him. The things about Leon Britton, which got sent to me by arms thing, that went straight to the Home Office. I've been there, I've seen it, I'm not getting involved with that.
And then I just want to confirm as well, up to this point, have you posted anything in relation to Benjamin and Kathleen Oliver on that site?
I have, on my life, I have never contacted or posted anything about Ben Oliver, Kathleen Oliver, their church, or anything else, because it would leave me open. I couldn't evidence it. Everything about Simon Oliver, I can evidence. Right?
Yeah, that's fine. Just wanted to confirm that through and through right there. But no, nothing else.
Thanks very much. Before we finish, Amanda, are you happy that Led understood everything that was going on and has answered himself lucidly and explained it to me? As
Yeah,
well
I
as
think so. Obviously, he's quite stressed.
yes, obviously.
We've infiltrated what's been going on. Oliver, head of Oliver's Masonic Lodge, is the former chief super in Thames Valley, where these problems are coming. When I was dealing with the IRA in Reading, my colleagues were dealing with them in London when these bombs were going off. So his lodge has been infiltrated. He's got a very close association with Thames Valley, because I've had the emails leaked to me. I've seen what's going on. I've seen the internal police bullying. I've seen Tyrrell, who then became where he was being bullied by his superintendent, Jill Watton. Then Tinder Meyer, who's now the assistant chief constable, he was putting special procedures into place to stop any investigation. All this has been sent to me. So there's one. They've pushed it too far. There's just too many people like me, and that site has brought a lot of us together. And like I say, it was just very good from senior officers telling staff not to record, to keep the numbers down. And this case where I'm allegedly meant to go to Oliver's house and get a party up, a posse up. Hey, that man and his children. And the mother's pasted all over Facebook. I didn't do it, but I will not. I know I've got the evidence on Oliver, which I wanted, and I've got the whole audit trail, what they're doing, how they're not sealing these court certificates, how the government lawyers are substituting them for their own one, not putting court stamps on, putting their own. We've got the whole paper trail, and as I said to the Attorney General, Geoffrey Cox, when we finally get to it, it may take time, and it's taken 3 years, but only in the last probably 5 weeks, all these government internal legal emails have been sent to me, posted to me. And even the files Mr. Justice Cobb would not allow me to have about his chambers, all of that's been released. They've denied me access to this merits appeal for 15 years. Mr. Justice Cobb's chambers, he's now Mr. Justice Cobb, it had been said that I'd recovered capacity before my house was sold. The Court of Protection was not necessary. Cobb had all these when he was the head of chambers, they had all these certificates, and the files say incapable of legal discussion with the official solicitor or any solicitor for over a year, and I've now got them. So what's happened? You're just on the periphery of this, but when it started, I went straight to Lynn Owens, because I know she got sent a report by someone from a force about what's been going on.
Harris, anything? No. Okay. So
I will not email these people.
No.
But
I would say don't have anything to do.
But I will I will now start challenging.
Because obviously, if
you
you do start doing it now, then we may have to come back.
But it leaves me weak, because the Attorney General Cox wrote to the CPS right at the very top. They've given me the whole process to set it. So all I've got to do now is get that letter from the High Court Judge Richard Ainley QC to your inspector and superintendent in professional standards to show the full admission by this barrister to his head of chambers that I've been a court of protection, And then we've got Oliver's can then explain why he never sent it to the court. He's admitted having it because he makes reference to it, and so I've got there, but it's taken me a long time.
So at the beginning of the interview, I explained that there is a notice which will explain how you can gain access to the interview. Solicitors usually don't want a copy of that notice because they know how to do it. Would you like a copy of that notice?
Yeah, I'd like that.
Okay, I'll fill that in afterwards.
Now, can I put this interview online? No? Okay.
Let's not do it anymore.
I like I say, I've had an absolute love of it. I'm not going at you, but all the time I've had to keep a diary, about these allegations. This was being made all the time.
Okay. So I'll fill that in afterwards. I won't take up time on the machine. The time is now 18:02 and the interview is concluded. Buzzing whir a bit.